to take hardline approaches and to keep trying to get better and better deals?
Look, I think this narrative of this obsessive focus on the market isn't right. President Trump views this as a generational opportunity to reset trade in a fair and sound manner for the American people. So the idea that some market ups or downs are going to be the deciding factor here. What we are concerned about, and President Trump is laser focused on, is getting the best deals, because we were not having fair trade, and now we're seeing, with these countries coming to the table, the quality of the deals gets better and better. So we're not going to rush just because of some market deadline. Now, I think what the market's seeing is market's willing to look forward 3, 6, 12 months, and this is going to be good for the U.S. It's going to be good for the global economy.
Absolutely. Look, the globalists, with Communist China and others, since we were the dominant power for World War II, sold out the West, set up China, made a deal with them. They double-crossed the globalists 15, 16 years ago, as you all know. And the U.S. still held all the cards. The world reserve currency, still the best technology, the biggest military by far. And culturally, despite all our problems, the left trying to make us be seen as pedophile devil worshippers in the planet, that was to undermine us, people still like America the best. So basically everybody, other than like Iran and Russia and China and North Korea, are coming over to the new U.S. alliance because Trump has announced we're open for business again. And we're winning. And of course, he said 30% tariffs on average. But if you challenge him, we'll go up to 100 and something. And then he goes off 100 back to his original 30, and they agreed to it. People go, oh, look, he flip-flopped. No, that was the negotiating strategy from the beginning. And as long as we can keep the corrupt special interests from being able to manipulate the White House in war, the economy, culturally, we'll win. But that's the ongoing battle. And Ivan Raiklin, former Green Beret, Defense Intelligence Agency operative and lawyer, up there on Capitol Hill, he's got the intel. He can't tell you everything because he has so many sources that'll give it up. But he's been concurring with my analysis and exactly with what's happening with the civil war inside the Trump White House right now. So he'll join us coming up for part of the next hour. And then we have Jake. But this just broke in Trump's ongoing press conference there on the White House lawn. Trump's gone from 8 days ago saying, shut it down, it's over, there's nothing there, to coming out and saying what we knew. The Democrats have had control of the Epstein file. Only what they want to leave in there is in there. So Trump says, okay, just shut it down. I said, that'll Streisand effect. Don't do it. Expose. It's another Russiagate thing. They've now done that. We've now seen Laura Trump, head of the RNC, one of the most competent Trumps, come out and say, no, we're going to do the right thing. Trump says he do the right things, wants to set things right. And now Trump's told Pam Bondi, fine, release whatever you think is pertinent. President Trump just said this a little while ago. This is what we need. We don't want to give people like Nikki Haley the high ground or Hakeem Jeffries. Release the Epstein files and let the chips fall where they may. This is why people don't trust the government. You can never go wrong with being transparent. Redact the victims' names, release the rest. But point out the Democrats had it and hid it and indict Comey and his daughter and the rest of them for hiding it in New York. You have to go on the offense with these people. Here's President Trump.
I think the Attorney General's handled it very well.
How many more seats? The Attorney General briefed you on the DOJ and FBI review, the findings of that review. The Attorney General briefed you on that.
What? On the
DOJ and FBI
on what?
review.
On what subject?
Epstein.
Okay.
On Epstein, of the review of the files. Attorney General Pam Bondi.
A very quick briefing.
Did she tell you, what did she tell you about the review? And specifically, did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the file?
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen. And I would say that, these files were made up by Comey, they were made up by Obama, they were made up by the Biden, we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well. And it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
On Texas, how many more seats
All right.
do you want the Republicans to draw?
5.
And then
So as of last night, he was going to move the administration to release it. Then, as of this morning, I made calls. That's what they've been told, the DOJ. No, Trump wants a special prosecutor. And so he's not supposed to direct her exactly what to do. So, I would imagine she'll be announcing a special prosecutor. The question is, how fast will that happen? Will it happen? And who should it be? We'll ask Ivan Raiklin about that when we come back. But first, I want to get into Trump's reported calls with Zelensky about giving heavy weapons, cruise missiles to hit Moscow. Now Trump has backed off of that. Or was that disinformation? According to Ivan's sources, it's pretty serious. We'll look at the tug-of-war battle inside the White House and who exactly the different factions are, because it's not enough to get Trump in. Just like 8 years ago, you got to deal with the internal power struggles and what goes on with any major organization, any extremely powerful organization, and no organization more powerful than the executive branch of the United States government, because we've had limited freedom compared to everybody else, massive freedom. And so with freedom comes great prosperity. With great prosperity comes great power, and then great decline and decadence, and then rebirth. And we're at the middle of the decline, collapse, rebirth. And we're hoping Trump can short circuit a long dark age here in the fourth turning and supercharge into the new golden era. That's really what we're talking about. Nobody wants Trump to succeed more than this audience, I know, and myself. That's why I've been in abject horror the last 8-9 days, because I'm not for cover-ups, but whoever tried to run this cover-up, we know who's advising him, it's not stupid, and you have to know it would create the mother of all Streisand effects. People know what that is. That's Barbara Streisand builds a big mansion. A local reporter reports on it. She threatens the woman, makes a big deal about it, so it blows up, becomes a top international story. You could not do a better job to draw attention to this and make yourself look guilty. Why in the hell did this happen when we know there's nothing in there on Trump? We know the Democrats did control the file, Brennan and others. That's true. People are like, Trump's covering up, saying now Brennan manipulated. No, they had the file. You think they left stuff in there bad about themselves? That's what I've been saying. It's a trap, like Admiral Akbar says in Return of the Jedi. We'll be right back. It's a major tug-of-war, civil war inside the Trump administration. We've defeated the Democrats and their mechanisms and their deep state group to a great extent, the Brennans, the Clappers, and their operatives. But you still got the BlackRocks and the MI6s and the Mossads and then other operators in there that are just with their own consultancy firms and law firms that are doing their own side deals that get in the way of our overall returning the Republic agenda. And so that's where we are now. China's still the big overall main muscle, but they're getting cut off to a great extent. And so now you do have the British intelligence and the Israelis trying to come into that vacuum. And there's a lot of people they're able to get business deals and things too, who will then get in the way of our agenda. So Ivan Raiklin has incredible contacts inside the Capitol, the White House, everywhere. He lives up there. And he's done this just in the last 8-9 years since he decided to get out of the military and Defense Intelligence Agency and the work he was doing there. Thought he could do more on the ground. He's an ultramarathon runner, former Green Beret, recovering lawyer, operating at the intersection of national security, startups, politics, and law. Ivan Raiklin on X, Raiklin.com. And we appreciate him joining us. He sent me a lot of documentation, a lot of background stuff, a lot we can't say on air because of sources and methods. We can give you general things. I concur with everything he's saying. He's on the ground. I'm watching it from afar, 35,000 feet, and my sources. So we can tackle this wherever you want to start, obviously, with the Russia situation, the Iran situation, who's in the White House. And then I want to segue into the Epstein fiasco and who was advising him to do this. So Ivan Raiklin, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me on, Alex. So, I mean, where do we start? Because there's so much to unpackage. I think the big picture, kind of like you talk about 30,000 foot level, is we saw, I think, a little break about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago with the whole Epstein component. So we got President Trump in. I voted him personally 6 times. But we also have to take a look now who is surrounding him to give him different pieces of advice on different things that are going on globally as well as domestically. And so while we see what's going on with the cabinet and through the confirmation process, we kind of see the thinking of how those cabinet level officials think and are going to operate. There are certain elements of the White House that don't require a Senate confirmation, or there are individuals that never have gone through a Senate confirmation or a political campaign themselves. And so there's not much information out there about them, but yet they are holding very key and critical positions in the White House that have daily, regular, if not overwhelming, not only access, but the ability to convey what their interests are personally and through their broader network to influence who becomes a member of the administration and which information flows to the president for a decision to be made.
And naming names, and again, I understand that they were effective to get Trump in. Obviously, Susie Wilds, this Gore character continues to come up, causing the whole Elon fight. He even bragged about that. I mean,
I think his real name is Sergei Gorokhovsky. Born in Uzbekistan, Tashkent, based on what New York Post has recently reported on. It begs the question: why is it that he wanted to avoid? Why did he change his name? That'd be interesting to know. Maybe there's something there. There's a lot of smoke going on amongst I guess, those that are in the White House that have not been scrutinized ever publicly and never faced any sort of kind of research by those in the independent media. And I think it's now time to look at those individuals in order to determine, are they the ones? I mean, I don't know. I'm not accusing anybody, but there's so much smoke and so many indicators to show, is this individual who's the head of the personnel office at the White House, basically head of HR, he gets to have an outsized influence on determining who gets in to then fill the 4,000 appointed positions in the administration. So if President Trump says, "Hey, I want this guy to fill this position," it comes down to the head of PPO to vet the individual. And if Sergio doesn't want, or Sergey doesn't want that individual in the position, then he'll just create a dossier that, I guess, it could be true information, but leave out good stuff to then remove them. One instance of that is obviously what occurred with the fallout with Elon Musk and Sergei Gorokhovsky. And I'm not sure President Trump may have been aware of that. I mean, it's kind of difficult when he's trying to, you know, stop the weaponization at a strategic level and all the wins that are happening with Tom Homan. I mean, I would give Tom Homan an A plus. So there are several individuals in the administration that I would give an A plus or an A. Tom
sure,
Homan
but how
is
did this
crushing
Sergio
it.
Gore?
But
I mean, because it's on record he lied about where he's from and won't even try to get his national security clearance, but somehow is allowed to stay there. And then I've been hearing, even before the controversy with him running off Musk, which was devastating to Trump land, losing that, and all the dangers that come out of that. And from all my sources, I mean, they say this guy is a complete and total menace. We need a spotlighting.
right, absolutely. And my sources, you probably have way more than I do, but I have so many sources that tell me throughout the entire administration, not only in the White House,
No,
but
no, let's be clear.
everybody
You have
throughout.
way more sources. You live up on Capitol Hill. I hear about you from everybody. I've known you for 9, 10 years, but you live up there. You're very effective as a lawyer in Green Beret and Defense Intelligence Agency, former guy. No, you keep giving us the best info. You're literally living on Capitol Hill. You have way more sources than I. Just that everything you were telling me on the phone over the weekend in the last few weeks is what I've been hearing first. When Trump first came in, they said this Sergio Gore is a big problem, a key gatekeeper who himself is very mysterious. You really, and then now we have disaster after disaster coming out of this guy.
Right. So then when you start to pull the thread and research this individual, Mr. Gorokhovsky, very mysterious, nebulous, kind of hiding in the shadows. But that's not the important part. The important part, he essentially, I would give it, he probably has over 50% influence on deciding who gets appointed to what position throughout the entire cabinet and administration. And
And
then
we always said that would be the key.
I'm getting I'm getting a lot of indicators from people that I trust and know that I think there's going to be a bombshell coming maybe as early as today. I'm trying to confirm some things about this individual. Um, I'll give you a hint maybe. Remember the video, I guess pictures of nefarious things that were going on in the Senate a few months ago,
The gay sex.
if, if you know what I mean? I think there's going to be some evidence. And again, I'm not going to say it until I completely verify and confirm everything, but I'm getting so many breadcrumbs from probably a dozen sources that are leading in that direction. And then when you start to do the link analysis, again, going back to my professional training and what I used to do, I used to teach intelligence analysis. You start to look at it like at an individual of Sergio Gore. I've never met the guy, I don't think. I have no personal issue. Like I don't have any reason to be angry or have disdain for him, either way. But when you start digging, and a lot of people are telling you what's going on, and then you start to look at, oh, wait, he's on the board of the Kennedy Center. Okay, Kennedy Center is like the cultural performing arts, and that's kind of our pinnacle of governmental influence.
But it's
culture.
really a private crossover governmental intelligence operation.
And then when you look at other individuals, such as
I'm sorry, but I mean,
Brian Ballard and Pam Bondi. Sorry.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, sorry, go ahead. I was going to go into the whole history of the Kennedy Center for people that don't know. That's really where the WEF first got its power, was from the Kennedy Center, and WEF's really just a front for the Kennedy Center. So we think, oh, it's where operas and no, folks. It's where the Harvard mafia and the globalist mafia meet, and it's a major power node. Go ahead.
So, I mean, last couple of weeks, what would have been the biggest, I guess, backfire decisions? It's what Pam Bondi has been doing, it's the Epstein stuff. And so it begs the question. You start to look and dig into Pam Bondi and her relationship potentially with others, with staffing and Sergio. And then all roads seem to lead to a couple of different lobbyist firms. Remember when Marjorie Taylor Greene was on the show just about an hour ago, I was listening in, and she said, there are a lot of swamp, deep state lobbyist interests that are essentially trying to get President Trump to make decisions that are totally counter and contrary to what the mandate was for him to get into office and what he campaigned on. And so now we have to root all of this out. And phase one is to expose which individuals are behind it. And when I say individuals, like, well, I was kind of tooling around the other day looking at FARA reports, right? Laura Loomer's digging into this congresswoman who chairs the GOP in Congress, and she's going after her for her ties with Qatar. Well, lo and behold, there's a major lobbyist company by the name of Mercury and Ballard Partners that Pam Bondi had a relationship with. I mean, I didn't vote for President Trump for him to basically guarantee that Ballard Partners and what's the other one, Mercury PR, make payroll. That's not what I voted for. I'm sure that you and your audience didn't vote for that either. But when you have individuals with 4 decades of incestuous, generational rot creation in our institutions that are in the system, guess what? You're going to get them because they know how to maneuver. They know how to maneuver within the White House. They know how to maneuver within Congress. And so, and the private sector.
Well, I mean, let's just be clear about Gore. Let's just be clear about Gore.
In D.C. on K Street.
And let's be clear about Gore. If you were trying to get a job with the federal government at a low level and you get caught lying about where you're from, which he's been caught, says he's from Maltese, no, he's from a totally different country, on record, or you're trying to get a job at the FBI and you lie about where you're born, you're probably going to get indicted. So the FBI is way lower level power than
the job. You're going to be indicted. Exactly.
Yeah. Instead, this is the gatekeeper for who gets hired in the government. This is a disaster.
And when you look at the relationships, right? Take a look at the relationships of what he has with the individuals of the 2 entities that I mentioned, Mercury and Ballard. And it all starts to make sense. Now, I don't have definitive proof, but when you have, I don't know, 1 trillion pieces of evidence and indicators, you're getting kind of close to almost certain. And unfortunately, a lot of these activities, I haven't seen any criminality to it. It's all in your face, publicly done activities that when America and those that voted for Trump see this, it almost begs the question. Does he have the equivalent of a Hunter Biden and a Mike Pence back in the White House? And if so, who are those individuals? Because the indicators are there. And I would suspect that those individuals represent not only their own personal interests, but they're also shaping our foreign policy. Why the 180 on Ukraine with, oh, we're going to go ahead and fund Ukraine? I get it. He's getting pressure from the Republicans in the Congress, such as Lindsey Graham.
And I want to get to that. I want to get to that in a few minutes because that's the big story here. But and then Trump kind of doing a about face in that statement today about no, we're not going to bomb Moscow as his smarter advisors come to him. But going back to this individual and others, regardless, as you said, I was about to say they hide it in plain view. You literally just said this in your face. I was going to say plain view. When he blocked Musk NASA head was clearly a lot better. And Musk didn't even want anything extra just to keep what he got. He does the best job. It's like, delivers projects at about half the cost with better outcomes. All he ever wanted was a fair shake. He was against the EV mandate. They tried to spin it. Gore comes out and brags, yeah, I got rid of Musk, wanting to brag to the DC inside that they didn't want Musk in there.
I think that's the first strategic mistake, massive mistake of this administration by pushing Elon out.
Well, exactly. Let's speak to that, and then how they're hiding it in plain view. I mean, this was a disaster. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you can have. I don't even know where to start on this, other than to say that, okay, you're trying to figure out who you're going to staff. Okay, the person that does the staffing and vetting is the head of PPO. All right, and then you ask the question like, who is his boss, and is his boss providing top cover for the decision to basically push out Elon Musk? I don't know. That's something that all viewers must look into. And then once you come to that conclusion of that, who that individual or individuals are, then you got to decide like, how do we shine a light on them and get them to turn? I mean, here are our options. You can remove these individuals, or you can get them to start moving in our direction. I'm like, I guess I'm nice. A lot of people say that I'm too aggressive or whatever. But if I don't see criminality or treason, then I'm willing to kind of like negotiate a little bit. So the negotiation here is, if you start following Sergio and others, Pam, and whoever you want to call out, to do the following, meaning, how about arrest those involved in everything over the last 11 years that Joe Biden pardoned others for, because all of them were illegitimate pardons. And then if you do that, I'm okay with it. I think some of your audience would be okay with that. But when they don't do that, and instead they do a complete opposite 180 of what we mandated President Trump for, then now it's a problem. Now we get involved in the proverbial civil war that you talk about. And if the American public is mobilized, this White House lobbyist cabal will not be able to withstand our motivation.
And let me bring this up right now, and it is about putting myself in the story. It's the truth. 8.5, 9 years ago, I became, along with Roger Stone and General Flynn, target number one. And it came out in the news, all because they didn't want good advice inside and outside, and they wanted to send a message to everybody else that could tell the truth. Don't go after the globalists, the Fiona Hills and people in there, because nobody would tell Trump. They all knew, but they didn't want to start a fight. I would. So would Roger, so would Flynn. So we were all targeted. That's all come out and been declassified. They got a much bigger problem. They had Elon in there, and I've watched the body language and see what came out. Susie Walls did not like him because he was trying to, put in his more than 2 cents. And so they were able to run him out, piss him off, and now turn him into an enemy, super unwise for their own little special interest. And absolutely, if these cabals wanted to be in there and get contracts that aren't illegal but are a little untoward, as long as they arrested the globalists and dismantled this, because they're coming after us, we got to get them. And as long as they were America first, we're willing to negotiate. But the fact that they start going against everything we stand for and watering things down and saying don't investigate Epstein and let's go ahead and have war with Russia, it's like a hard stop, like a car wreck sound. We're like, okay, you're a problem. We just took on the Democrats. We just took on the Chi-Coms, and they need to know the honeymoon's over is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with you saying no to me and be like, you know what, I'll give you a little breadcrumb here and there. But when you come out with 4 middle fingers in my face and start caressing my face, that's a problem. And I think that's where we're at right now. Everyone saw it for what it was. Last week was the first time we saw, I thought most of these folks online, the MAGA influencers, were complete sycophants, I think, like you call them, that would never budge or say one negative comment of President Trump. And all of them in cadence were like, no, you either go full bore in releasing the Epstein information for full transparency and accountability, or we're going to consider you as a pedophile protector. And it doesn't stop. It stops all the way at the top. So if you're going to go, and we saw that, your audience, my network, it's unacceptable. And I put an X post out. I said, if those are my kids, guess what? That results in immediate capital punishment. And I eagerly look forward to a jury of my peers as a result of that immediate capital punishment if that were to be done to my children. Now, having said that, maybe we can go ahead and release the evidence and start the process of gaining trust. And I suspect that the reason why you're seeing this hesitation moves by Cash Patel and 180s by Cash Patel and Dan Bongino, they're way lower in the chain, right? So if Cash Patel and Dan want to hire some people as their staff to get to deep state accountability, they got to run it by Sergio Gore. Maybe Sergio Gore says, hey, if you don't expose me, then I'm going to go ahead and provide you some folks that you want on your staff. So that's the leverage, I think, I guess, just based on my analysis. I don't have any direct evidence of that we see that is probably going on in the background.
So let's talk about this, Ivan. Last Sunday, they put out the ridiculous memo, no human trafficking, basically Epstein didn't even jaywalk, and he killed himself. Then Trump comes out and says, yeah, no, I gave the order.
Wait, speaking of the memo, you got to beg the question, who leaked it and who was it leaked to?
Axios.
Huh. What about Mark Caputo and his co-author, what's his name, Eisenstadt? Why don't we ask those two guys and say, hey, buddy boys, who leaked it to you? You always say high-level White House source or DOJ source. It's unsigned. So then it begs the question. You run it through your AI little system, whether it's whatever agent you want to do or do a search query, and then it begs the question. It's either, if you're a White House reporter, do you think it was leaked by somebody at the DOJ or the FBI?
White House.
It's probably going to be leaked from somebody at the White House if you're a freaking White House reporter.
Susie
so
Wells.
Then let's do the process of elimination. Who would that have that information about the DOJ? Would it be Sergio Gore? I don't know, maybe. Or who else that would be able to influence things? And I'll let people ponder that question. I have my own thoughts on that.
Well, let's go here.
But I
let's
think
go here.
we need to keep digging.
We're going to break. So let's go here. 180 on Epstein case last Monday, and now about a 130 today. Okay, we're looking at a special counsel. We're going to do it. That shows what we already know. There's a battle, and that's why the neocons, the globalists want to say it's traitorous for the original constituents to say we don't like something because that gets to Trump and he listens, and it shows how real Trump is. And so now Trump comes out earlier. We'll play the clip when we come back, and just an hour ago, and says, no, we're going to go ahead and release stuff. So this is 180 from a 180, and now we're back about a 140.
Yeah, I agree with that. But one last thing I want to say before we go on that break is that, do you really think that President Trump wrote that truth post that was ratioed times a trillion?
No.
My gut feeling tells me that probably the same individual or individuals that we're referring to in the lobbyist ecosystem that has access to the lady that writes President Trump's truth posts. I don't want to.
Well, I've been around
give her
enough to
name
know when
out.
a woman writes something versus
It
a
doesn't
man.
sound like President Trump's voice.
No, a woman wrote it. Or somebody trying to act like a woman.
Why do you think that?
We could read it together. I mean, the boys are a little... A woman wrote it. I think Susie Wells wrote it. We'll be right back. Stay with us. And the Trump administration being taken over from the inside by corrupt globalists and corporate interests that are just as bad. Mainly just rogue actors for money. We're defeating the globalists, but here come the opportunists. That I haven't even told you that 11 days ago, the Democrats filed in state court to seize InfoWars as early as next Monday. And you'd think I'd be telling you about that. And people seen us survive so many attacks. It's not that after all these years of fighting, I've given up. It's just people don't take this stuff seriously because we've survived so much. You go, oh, well, you'll be fine. It's like some family member that's, been fighting cancer for 6 years. And no, they'll be fine. They've beat it for 6 years. You have dinner with your uncle, and 2 days later, they die finally after surviving pancreatic cancer for 6-7 years, which is a record. I had dinner with my dad's great uncle, such an awesome guy, Leonard. He came to town from Houston. We got Mexican food. It was great. And he had more radiation therapy, survived over 6 years with it, and hugged him, told him I loved him. He drove off with his daughter. And 3 days later, he was dead. Now, I'm just saying, I mean, they could be here Monday. I mean, so just everybody keeps, oh, yeah, it's going to be a big deal. All right. And we keep filing stuff and maneuvering, but because we survive, they go, oh, yeah, this is a marathon, folks. This is like a 15-round heavyweight championship. This is not And it's like they add rounds. Every time you win, it's the deep state. You don't get the title. They just, oh, we'll add 12 more rounds. We'll add 20 more rounds. We'll add 100 more rounds. But that's the fight against good and evil in history. So whether today or tomorrow, because I got a bunch of guests, I'm going to do a major update. What's crazy is when they got all this at the court, when the judge authorized it, the same one that ran the show trial, it didn't even hit the news because they've been so embarrassed so many times trying. But it's in the filings, and they're coming with the sheriff's department. If we can't block it, which we're trying to do right now. So, and I'm just at peace with it. I'm just going to, notice we're doing extra broadcasts. We're up here at midnight, 9 to midnight doing shows now. We're just using every minute here. It's special. But that's where we are. And I think it's emblematic, as above, so below, the micro, the macro, that it's the same thing with the Trump administration. People think we've won this thing. We haven't. Ivan, can you speak to that and then get back into Epstein and where that's going? And then this war situation with Russia. I know your Pentagon sources say no. It looks like this is happening. I don't just go off mainstream media, but we know Trump said before we might give heavy weapons to Ukraine. Zelensky said he said that. Now Trump backed off of that today. What do you make of